So that's actually a great point, because I wanted to bring up that this was another concern that Tempe had, some people had, was, oh, look at how poorly they treated Glendale. How dare they do this to Glendale? Let's remember who threw the first stone in that relationship. The Coyotes were so desperate to make it work in Glendale that they were willing to change all of their branding away from Phoenix to Arizona. They changed their branding to Arizona Coyotes to appease Glendale. And they desperately wanted to get in bed with them. They were, like you were saying, living year to year. They wanted to get a contract for 15 years to play in Glendale. They got that contract in like 2012, 2013. I don't remember the exact years. I'll be honest, they all blend together in my brain.
It's all just pain.
Yeah. They finally get that contract from Glendale for a 15-year lease. And what happens 2 years into that contract wasn't the Coyotes who broke it. It was Glendale. Glendale broke it. And on top of that, might I say, Craig Morgan reported that he went to, I think, 3 lawyers. And the Coyotes had pretty good grounds to go after Glendale for that break, saying that it was not a lawful break of that contract. They could have gone after them for a lawsuit for breaking that contract, potentially, do your own research, illegally. And because of it, we start the tumultuous turmoil that was going on in Glendale, where after that break, Glendale was like, at any point we'll kick you out of this arena. You're living year to year. Like, imagine we're watching two partners, right, in a relationship, and we just saw toxic relationships end up in court over this week.
Oh God!
In the first place, right? Imagine you're in a relationship. You're so desperately to get married with this person, and this person just starts abusing you, right? Are we going to blame the victim for wanting to get the hell out of that relationship? Oh, well, they threw some punches back, so they don't deserve it. To me, in my head, whoever threw the first punch is the bad person. If you're defending yourself, if you're defending yourself, I don't care, right? Like, if you're throwing punches first and you're defending yourself having to throw punches back, that doesn't make you both wrong. That makes whoever threw the first punch wrong.
There
Just
is a
my
little
opinions.
nuance there. If we're talking about that specific example where it's like if you use too much force, but that's a legal term for legal courts, not for us.
Yeah.
But I really do like that point. A little bit of charged terminology in my opinion, but I also appreciate the point you were making there. And so when you look at the relationship with Glendale, and I genuinely, I cannot elaborate on this, but just some things I was hearing going on behind the scenes with previous ownership. First off, that first giant group of owners, I liked a lot of them. I was working the parking lots. Their specific little lot where the owners got to go in, so I got to be friendly with them. Not get to know them, like go to dinner or anything, but I got to be friendly with them. They seemed pretty nice. They did not have the money they said they did. It was a lot of, why do you think there was what? It was like 15? It was like 15 like owners all together. That's why.
12 to 15, yeah.
So that's there was that, and then going right into who was the gentleman that was majority owner that sold
Mr. Barroway.
Mr. Barroway. Again, I literally cannot elaborate on this, but there were some things I was hearing going on behind the scenes there, to where those toxic work environment reports as Marullo was first coming in, and as you know, John Chaika is still there. I do completely believe. Actually, I thought when they were published was stupid because it's so outdated, and it wasn't clarified that it was previous regime, previous ownership, previous general manager. And one thing I really wish I would have wrote a statement, because I as soon as I realized they were opening up public comment like past those 96, I went blank, my mouth went dry, and I put my wife's hand on my chest, and it was done. So I didn't know what I was gonna say. I genuinely wish I would have looked over at Shane Doan and said, that man right here, I did say he's a saint, because he's a saint, but I wanted to look at him and say, this gentleman, I trust him to degrees that probably individuals shouldn't trust other individuals they don't know all that well. But just the fact that he chose to come back into the situation tells me, no matter what problems were before he came back, at the very least, he saw a genuine effort to change that culture. He saw genuine positivity, and he would not just show up in a crap show. I do not think he would. And you could be, oh lol, because he stayed with the team for so long and it was a crap show. Yeah, sure, that's a pretty funny joke, but I'm talking about actual like toxic work environment. He would not say yes if he thought that was still going on. He that is a huge first step in change, in my opinion. And I genuinely just wish I wasn't stupid and I would have been prepared and I could have said that, because what that man means for hockey in Arizona, I could have a 30-hour filibuster for you. But just to keep it brief here, just for your sake with editing, that is a huge first step in fixing any problem that there was before. And I wish I would have brought that up.
I want to quickly go over that article that you were talking about. So the article that you're talking about with workplace toxicity, that was written by the hit artist Nun herself, Katie Strang, just desperately trying to get food on the table for her, so she's writing whatever she possibly can. I want to point out the timeline of that. So we know that the previous regime, before Morello and Bill Armstrong took over the head offices, was toxic. And we know this because of Reddit reports, things like that, where people actually worked there and talked about the toxicity under the Chaika administration. Andrew Cohen, I believe, was the CEO. Those two were the head honchos at the top, right? Under that administration, there was a ton of toxicity. I go back to it, I feel like every episode, but I'll keep shouting him out. 99.9 The Howl has something on his channel where he reads over one of those Reddit posts. I highly implore you to go read that or listen to him read it. It's pretty bad. And so to think like, yeah, there's a toxic work culture going on, right? Like let's put this in present tense of what's going on. Toxic work culture. Everything's going wrong, like not wrong, but everything's toxic within that organization. Mr. Morello comes in, right? He's now the guy above those two. He is trying to fix this toxicity, right? And it gets to the point where there's butting heads, there's arguments. Yeah, no wonder he's telling people, don't call me Alex, call me Mr. Morello, because if your business is toxic, you're trying to establish dominance. You are the owner. And if people are talking trash behind your back or, doing mental abuse to other coworkers and stuff like that, yeah, you're going to come in and lay down the long arm of the law and be very demanding. And then if you notice, in that offseason, it was so toxic that Chaika dipped when they got into the playoffs. He dipped out. He was like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm going to go pursue something else. And after ruining this team, like emotionally on the ice, and then also ruining the future prospects by sacrificing, 2 firsts and a second for illegally testing players, right?
Well, that and the Hall trade that we ended up, because the thing is with that Hall trade, I like the point you brought up, but I also like mine where it's like, if you keep him, the trade's fine, it's worth it. If you lose him, you're losing those premium assets that you can't tell me right now. I don't care about how Nate Schnarr is not really that good. I knew it at the time anyway. I don't care how Kevin Ball's just maybe kind of getting his feet wet at the NHL level. You cannot tell me other teams would not have been interested and you couldn't have flipped them for younger assets or more second and third round picks to help even more ammo for the rebuild. And maybe, this is my personal speculation exclusively, they might not have had to get rid of 1 or 2 of the fan favorites they did. Doesn't mean they would not have, but it's a possibility.
Don't forget about who was drafted with that first that was given for the Hall deal. Dawson Mercer. Could have potentially also had him too. But to finish up, no wonder it is such a toxic work environment, and Katie Strang is writing about this and saying that's all Morello's fault when he inherited that mess. And guess what? In that offseason, he cut the cancer out and he clean swept the organization. Clean swept. Well, he didn't actually. He hired Gutierrez to come in and run the boring business side of it, and then Bill Armstrong came in to run the hockey side of it, and both those two cut the cancer out and completely gutted this organization and refilled it with much more appropriate and well-organized people.